Well, my name is Chris Devoto. I'm the founder of Twin Maples Organics. This is a big crowd here. I was not expecting so many people. This is my first time here to the 1Million Cups. So I've been wanting to come, and I didn't know my first time coming would be standing up here in front of you. I've done a lot of talks to garden clubs, so completely different from this. I've been talking about growing vegetables and different techniques and what I'm doing different from other farmers, but I'm going to have to talk about something different with you all. I moved here 3 years ago from Knoxville. I was a private chef in Knoxville, and I've been to Phoenix and Pawleys Island and a few other places cooking. And my grandfather passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, and my grandmother was out here by herself on her property. And so I made the decision to stop what I was doing and to move out here and to move in with my grandmother. And along the way, I fell in love with my grandmother's property. So when I came out here, I knew I didn't want to find a job in Madisonville. I wanted to do something on the farm because that's why I came out here, to be with my grandmother and stay on the farm. And so that's how I got started growing. Before I moved out here, I never had a garden before. This coming up season will be my 4th garden ever. So I've learned along the way. The first, when I got started, I was trying to figure out how am I going to make enough money to be able to stay here. So the only thing I could really think of was growing vegetables and selling them at the farmer's market to get started. The first couple of months of the farmer's market, I think I made like between $7 and $18 a day, or a week, because I was only going once a week. And the first day I went, I think I made $7, and I stopped at Ideal along the way, and I picked up a sandwich and some ice, and it was $8. So it was the first season. I didn't know how this was going to work, but I just kept going, kept trying. The first season, all I was doing was going to the farmer's market with this little small garden that my grandmother had in her backyard. Then the next season, I started growing it. I decided, I think I can make money at this, and I think I can create an image and a brand. And so I tilled up a 2-acre hay field and bought a high tunnel and started the OFM, which is an organic farm membership. The problem I was having starting out is I was growing all this food, but I couldn't get rid of it. Because once you harvest it, it goes bad in a week, 2 weeks. I didn't have a refrigerator big enough to even put it in, so I was having a hard time. I found restaurants and everybody wanted to buy my food, but when it came down to it and I had the vegetables in my hand, I couldn't get rid of it fast enough. A couple people here and there. So Elizabeth, my fiance, and I started the OFM. It's an organic farm membership where it's kind of like a CSA, but we wanted it to be more of our farm. Come and have a piece of our farm. Whatever we get, they get, type of thing. Not just vegetables. We wanted to do the honey, the organic eggs, flowers. We wanted to start getting into like pork and beef, and do like the whole farm membership program idea. So that's what we did the second year. These are some of the baskets that we gave out last year. So each year, I just kept building, trying to do more things. The second, or I guess the third season, we decided we needed to diversify a little bit and get into stuff more other than vegetables. We feel like the vegetables created our brand and our image, and we needed some other ways of generating money because growing just vegetables for money is hard. We don't have any employees. It's just the 2 of us. Eventually, we will have employees, but it's nice. It's nice not having to do payroll. It's nice not having to do all the bookworking stuff. I wanted to be out doing stuff. I didn't want to be sitting at a desk doing all the paperwork. Now I've lost where I was. So each year we've done more and more, investing. The way I've been investing is completely different than the way y'all have probably invested in the company. The way we invested is we planted, I think, 218 trees. Fruit trees, pecan trees. We planted like 40 apples, 30 pears, 50 sweet cherries, 20 fig trees, Chinese dates, I think 70 grafted pecan trees, and so that's how we kept building and investing all our money back into what we were trying to create. And it's hard to think about that sometimes because we planted these pecan trees that won't have pecans until 20 years. So I was thinking way into the future on some of my ideas. So we put up a high tunnel that you can see there. That's half built. That was a grant through the NRCS that helped us accomplish that. And we've gone through them with a few things on trying to get enough money to be able to do some of the stuff, because everything that we're doing, that we've done the past 3 years, has gone back into the business.
Can you explain the high tunnel a little more?
Yes, the high tunnel, the difference in a high tunnel and a greenhouse is the high tunnel, you grow the stuff in the dirt. You're not putting them in pots, you're not planting starters. Everything is grown in the ground, in the dirt. The high tunnel is a structure over the dirt that is it's a season extender. It extends the season about a month on both ends. So you get about a month early vegetables, a month later vegetables. The one I put up is on tracks. The high tunnel is 30 by 72, and the track is a little over 200 feet. So we just unhook the carabiners, and Elizabeth and I literally push it to the next plot. So we have 3 plots it goes on, like a track. And so we grow stuff in one plot, and then we lift up the end walls, and then we move to the next one and grow, and then we'll have stuff growing that we want to protect in the winter, and we'll just move it over in the winter and start all over. So we move it about 3 times each season. It extends our high tunnel times 3. Any more questions?
Where are you located?
In Anton, about a mile past the airport.
Okay.
If you go past the airport about a mile, we're on the left, Maloney Lane.
Okay, so do you still sell your vegetables and your products at your farm?
No, we don't sell directly off of our farm at the moment.
Okay.
We'd like to start because we're right on the highway there. But we do the farmers market and we do our OFM, and then we sell to restaurants. Eventually, we have an old tobacco barn that we're wanting to convert into like a little store that's open like 3 months a year in the summertime.
On your OFM, you must have a limited number of people that you're capable of supplying. Is that correct or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're extremely limited.
Okay, so are you still accepting new members for that?
We have an active waiting list.
Okay.
That we have, and so we encourage people to sign up for our waiting list. And where you get on the waiting list, we just go down in the season. We do 30 members a year, and so members that drop out, we just add them on through our waiting list. So we have an active waiting list for that.
What's the cost of that membership?
It is $35 a week, and it goes for 20 weeks, so it's $700. And it's an upfront cost before the season even starts. So it gives us our funds for the year to buy seeds, to do transplants, to do everything that we want to do. To buy the high tunnel, all that money that we do comes from our upfront membership. And it helps out a great deal having disposable money at the beginning of the season instead of the end.
How big a farm do you have?
The property is about 100 acres, but my grandmother planted hardwood trees on them like 25 years ago on 88 of them. So we have about a 2-acre garden now, and that's maxed out. There's no more. The rest is in trees. And then we have 5 acres in an orchard.
How long will it be for the fruits and like how it, that's an investment you've made, so how many years out? Some of some fruits that.
We will have fruit this year on the trees, but we'll have like 2 peaches. You know, it takes a couple years for them to figure it out and for them to produce a lot. We'll have cherries and peaches this year as the trees are just trying to figure out how to fruit. When they're grafted on like semi-dwarf rootstocks, and so it's a smaller root, so it grows a smaller tree. It doesn't last as long. It lasts like 25, 30 years, but it produces fruit a lot quicker than the slower hardwood trees like the pecans. The pecans will last 150 years. It take 20 years before you'll have pecans. The fruit trees, it's the exact opposite. We'll have fruits and they won't last as long.
Will you do your fruits organically too, the trees? Yeah.
Everything we do is organic. That's how my grandmother's always done it. That's my last job as a private chef, the last 2 years before I moved here. That's all I was doing. I was organic cooking. I did, and that's where I learned all my research and learned about organic. And so that's why I wanted to continue that, because I was having such a hard time finding organic in Knoxville. I figured if I'm going to grow food, I'm going to do it the responsible way. Yes.
Tell people about your fertilizer system.
The one way is the chickens. If you see a chicken on a wagon that we built, Elizabeth and I built that from scratch. We've got a sawmill, and we cut trees down and built it on a hay wagon. We took the floor off of our hay wagon, put a net down, and then built it around it. So all the manure just falls right through. We push it every day. We push it every day by hand, and then when it gets to the end of our plot that we have our electric netting around, we hook it up to the Kawasaki and we move it to another area. After our crops, and we're wanting to, we move it into the garden and then section it off like where the lima beans were. And they just drop all the manure there. They eat all the bugs. They eat all the limas that we didn't get, and then we move it to the next plot. When we did our corn this year, we sectioned off where we're going to do our corn and left them there for about 6 weeks, and then had a couple weeks where we let it break down before we planted our corn. So that's how we got all of our nitrogen, was through our chickens. Yes.
How many chickens?
We did have 50. Now I think we have like 46.
Fox.
Yeah, we had an owl that was killing them. I found an owl one day inside the old coop, and there was like 3 ducks with their heads missing. And it's been going on for a year. I couldn't figure it out. I had no idea what it was killing them, but it was a rapture. So we took them to their property and let the owl go.
Somebody around me's not too happy.
Hopefully they don't have chickens.
How do you handle weed control and insect control?
Weed control, we have a few different things that we've come up with. Well, I say we came up with, but I do a lot of reading, and a lot of my stuff comes from Elliot Coleman and a couple other books that I've been reading and studying. One way is we put this black tarp down over our plot. No sunlight gets through it, the sun heats it up, and it's solar, I forget what it's called, like solarization. And all the seeds sprout up, lack of light dies, pull the tarp off, and we plant in a weed-free bed. That helps for the first month. And then we get after it with the hand tools after that. Another way we do is we bought a flame weeder. All of our beds are the exact same width and the exact same length, so everything we can use on all of our beds. So we broke our 2-acre garden into 12 different plots with 11 beds in each one, 65 feet long, 30 inches wide. So we had someone build a 30-inch flame leader. It has 5 torches on it and a backpack 10-pound propane tank. And we go across the beds with that, and it kills all of our weeds. So like the slow germinating stuff, like the carrots and the beets, we'll prepare the bed. We'll wait a couple weeks. The weed seeds will start germinating. We'll go through with our planter and plant the carrot seeds. We'll wait another week. Right before the carrots germinate, we'll go through with the flame weeder, burn it all down. The carrots pop up with no weeds. It has a lot to do with timing on that. And there's different ways of doing that. You can put a pane of glass down on the bed, and when the carrots start germinating through the glass panes, you know that's when the rest of them are going to start coming up, so then you go ahead and flame them. That's 2 ways. The other way is we use back-breaking work. Yes.
Are you profitable yet?
We are and we aren't. I haven't made any money at it yet. I haven't put any money in my pocket yet. All the money has been going right back into what we're doing. My goal this year is to make between 10 and 20,000 profit this year. We made that last year, but every bit of it and more went back into it. I did not forget the right terminology, but we didn't break the cost down over a certain amount of years. I just took the money, paid for it outright, and took it off the books.
Amortization.
Yes.
You got all your equipment and your flamethrower and everything, basically, and paid off of that too. Good for you. That's impressive.
Well, that's stuff you don't have to buy again for next year.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
What about your bed and breakfast?
That we had to diversify our operation, and that's one of the ways we did. We have a bed and breakfast, 1-bedroom bed and breakfast, and a caboose. We built an outdoor shower. We cut trees down and milled the lumber and built an outdoor shower on the backside. And we put a septic tank in, and we have a 1-bedroom bed and breakfast. My background in all my studies are more of hospitality. I graduated with food service, hospitality, and so that's more in line of what my studies are. This year, one of what we're doing is we're taking, you see the barn in the background there? We're gutting the old cattle barn. We're gutting the inside of the barn for event venues. And what gave us the idea is that Elizabeth and I are getting married, and we wanted a place to get married out on the farm. And then, so we're starting to try and do events and catering. And we haven't decided how far we're going to go with that investment. We can go up to $100,000 in the barn renovation with the bathrooms, the caterer's kitchen, the whole 9 yards, or we could go and do it for about 5. So we haven't decided how far we want to go. Yes.
Does the tourism office know about your bed and breakfast? They have websites,
They don't.
a lot of contacts.
They don't yet. I've talked to them about it, but I felt like we were too young. We're in the process of building a website, so we don't even have a website yet. So we take everything with baby steps. Because there's so much stuff to do, you can't do it all, and I get overwhelmed. And so we're trying to do baby steps, and we didn't want to go to the tourism office or the other services until we had a website, until we had more of a game plan of what we're going to do when people start calling. But we will, in the future, we plan on it.
I've been out there several times, and I want to tell you, if you just want to have a get away from the city big city of Madisonville for a weekend, go out there and stay in that bed and breakfast. you'll enjoy.
We just put in a walk-in cooler in our root cellar. We had the homestead out there was first built in the 1800s. I think it was like 1830. And there was an old root cellar next to the house that was always flooded. I think my grandmother put a new roof on it 20 years ago, and that's when it started flooding. And so we fixed the roof, and we tore, the ceiling was about here when I walked into it. And so it was a dungeon, and I was like, that's the last place I ever wanted to go and find these pots that my grandmother would have stuck back there. So I took the ceiling off, and it was about that thick of sawdust. Which if you're trying to take a ceiling off with that much of sawdust, it is miserable. It had to be over 100 years old. And then we bought a unit. Arctic came out and helped with installing it. And so we put a walk-in unit in an old root cellar. So now we have a place for our vegetables. It's like 12 by 12, which will hold more than enough vegetables.
I see solar panels, not that picture, but there was one in there. What do you?
We have a portable electric netting for our chickens, and that energizes the net that we put around it. That's how we can. It acts as a double perimeter for the things trying to kill our chickens, and it also keeps our chickens where we want them to be. You can see it now on there, and you can see the net behind it. So that's what that's for. It's for our netting. We also use the netting for our goats. We'll put the goats in our back garden sometimes after the season and pick up all the sunflowers and stuff. So.
Two questions for you. One, do you do tours?
Yeah, we did.
How do they go about doing that?
They're not the tour you get from corporations. Give Elizabeth and I a call. We'll spend 15, 20 minutes and walk around the farm.
I so enjoy your presentation. I tried gardening for 4 years. With various no result. The last one being tomato plants that were 8 feet tall that produced no tomatoes. I just can't believe what you've done. I mean, it's just amazing. Just amazing.
You mentioned tours. There's been people that have had success with like pumpkin patches. Schools came out in the fall. They paid $4, $5, $6, $7 a piece a head to come get a pumpkin. Do you have anything like that on the horizon?
No, we're too small for that. We don't have big fields to put pumpkins in. And I feel like we're just too small for that. We'd like to build a pavilion or something to house that kind of stuff, you know, rain or shine. Because if it rains or something, I mean, there goes that plan. But we don't have the space to do that kind of stuff. We're very limited.
Would you be expanding into dairy at any point?
Elizabeth wants a milking cow, but I'm terrified of it. Yes.
I noticed on your Facebook page you all have goats. Do you ever sell goat's milk? 'Cause I'd be interested in buying some to make cheese with.
No, my grandmother used to have a lot of goats and she used to milk them, but I've been here 3 years, you know, and so I'm just learning how to have a garden. I'm intimidated by milking animals.
You got hands-on, that dude come go itself.
There you go, that would work. But you said you had 2 questions.
Yeah, the other question was, if you haven't yet built a website, did you depend mainly on your Facebook page to be able to get members for your membership?
The first year was word of mouth. The first year was people who came and saw us at the farmer's market. We got their address and sent them stuff in the mail. The second year doing it, we started the Facebook. Last winter is when we started the Facebook. And so then half of our memberships came through that. This year, it's probably 25% goes through Facebook. It's more of word of mouth. We're always getting phone calls, put us on the list and stuff like that. So we're small scale, and we only can accept 30 members because we want to stay small. We don't want to have 150 members. We want the quality. We want to provide as much as we can to them without short. We want to provide quality. We want that, intimate small farm kind of feel. We don't want to overdo it. So we're trying to stay small as we're growing and get better instead of bigger. Is that it?
What can we do for you? And can you come back and stay and visit with us again? I'm not speaking because we would love to have you as part of the group.
I would love to come back on Wednesdays and listen on other people talk. I feel like this is a good program. I feel like you can learn a lot from other people and how they do something, because everyone's going to do it different. Everyone's doing different stuff. And I planned on coming, I just could never get down to it.
We just had to trick you into coming. Do you ever have, obviously, I know you said you're researching all the time and reading. Other farmers or other farms that you've gotten information from, or are there people that give you unwanted information, people trying to help you too much?
Liz and I are always looking at other farms. We go to some farms in Louisville. We hear about farms at the market, and we'll go visit markets, and we'll go visit farms. And I really enjoy seeing other people's operations in other farms. But with people trying to give me too much information and stuff, no.
You should do this, you should get bigger, you should,
Well,
trying to-
yeah, well, dairy. Everybody's trying to get me to milk my animals. So yes and no. And this town is, there's so much farmland here, but it's almost as a food desert. There's no one doing this. There's not that many people here that are growing food for local consumption. It's a food desert. We've got lots of corn, lots of soybean, and lots of farmers, but the support system is weak in what I'm doing.
People coming to you for advice about how to grow organic?
On the small scale, home gardeners. I give talks to garden clubs. I went to Paducah twice and gave 2 talks there on growing food and how to grow it sustainably and all that. But so not on the large scale. No, I'll be going to them on the large scale and how they do stuff. They don't think I know anything. This is my 4th year of doing it. So everyone that's in this industry grew up on a farm and has been doing it their whole life. So it gives me a new perspective, because everything I'm doing, I'm learning fresh, doing it different, doing it my way.
Chris, are you able to provide any of your products to any of our local restaurants here to use?
Number 9, we probably gave more stuff to number 9 than any other place last year. We're going to provide to there's 3 restaurants that we've been trying to work with and trying to get in. It's number 9, Fabio's, and Chronicles. And in the winter, planning it and all that, it makes sense. They're all eager, but then when it comes down to it, it's hard.
You mentioned beef as well. I heard you mention that with your OFM program. Are you all going to start raising beef cattle too?
We are, but we're going to start for our consumption. And we're gonna do it for our beef first, and then we're gonna gradually get into it for our members and do it slowly. We just purchased 40 acres that connects to the farm. That's it's like a old abandoned coal mine. It's where they put in the railroad tracks. We go circle where they fill the coal, and so we're gonna try and take that back to pasture as it was. And so we want to put cows on. But baby steps. I have so much going on. I'm not going to go buy 40 heads. I'm going to buy 2.
Sure. Well, what would be nice too is, I mean, a lot of us in this room, you can tell, are going to support you, especially when you're going to do something that's not in this area. I was out in California back in April. There's restaurants in Napa Valley in that area that are doing this. Even 2 chefs from Madisonville are out there doing this.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it's great that it's in this area, but if we could know it as well, I know you don't have a web page yet, but other ways of knowing that we've got our local businesses using your products, and we can also, you know, give us more, love to request for those products, you know, if it's a certain time of year, or whether they've got something on their menu, or patron them as well.
Right. I love the idea of what they do in Napa Valley, where they have huge gardens in the back of their restaurants. And to get in to the back of the house, even the cooks and the chefs and the waitresses, they have to spend so much time in the garden growing food before they can even move into the restaurant. I think that's a cool concept, where everything comes from the ground in the field, right outside their back door, and the chefs work the garden along with everybody else.
I find it really interesting that you keep saying that you're intimidated, but it doesn't look like you're intimidated at all. You're blazing a trail, which is really, really cool. I mean, that's an impressive feat there, so I applaud you for that. I also applaud you for not wanting to reach down and milk a cow. I don't think that sounds good. We're thinking about getting into cows, and I have one of my customers has a farm called Rocky Bluff Farms. And they have a website, and they raise Angus beef cows, and they gotta do what you're doing, what you're wanting to do now. They'd be a good resource for you to talk to, Becky, would they?
What's the name of their farm?
Rocky Bluff Farms.
Where are they located?
They're located outside of Nortonville. So they're really, really close, and I mean, they raise some dogs and they raise cows. It's kind of a neat family plan, and they do a really good job with that. But they do freezer beef, basically, for individual consumption, so that might be a good resource for you. I'll give you that information after we get done. And then once you learn how to do it, I'd like you to teach me how, because I'm scared of cows too. I don't want to do that. The horse market really sucks right now, so I've got 90 acres to do something with, and that's what my husband keeps talking about is cows, and I keep going, I don't think they'll back off when I tell them to, like horses do. So. And the other thing I thought of is they were talking about whether or not you would, teach things. If you convert that farmland you're talking about, you can actually do teaching programs on how you're doing your process specifically, so that where you can, increase that teaching component of that, which might have some grants behind it somewhere. Because that would be really neat. And the flamethrower thing, I think you should patent, because my husband would love that.
It's already been patented by something. Where I came from.
I'm gonna find out where you got it, because I think they need that, because that garden concept that they had was really horrible. It was all weeds.
Yeah, you have to develop some kind of technique in doing that, because all the investments that I've made in that were solely to save time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever money I could spend to save time, I spent it. The flame weeder was like $600. And I thought it was well worth it, because it was going to save tens of hours of time, weeks of labor. So that's one thing. When I would make an investment, I was like, will it save me time? Because we don't have time. It's just the 2 of us and my grandmother. She's 87. She does all the canning. Sometimes I think I intimidate her too. I bring her a big old bushel of fruit. Like I need some jam.
What about the bees? Do you take care of the bees?
Uh-huh.
And you're You're not scared of bees, but you're scared of cows.
I'm not scared of cows. Oh, okay. I'm scared of cows and I'm scared of bees. I got started with bees because I loved honey. And then once I started getting into the bees, I realized I loved bees. I didn't like bees before. Elizabeth has stories about me like having a group discussion about bees, and I was the one all like this, all the way in the back, like the bees are coming towards me. I didn't like it. I hated getting stung in the first, and it was like every time I went and checked on the hive, I got stung, every single time. And I would swell up, and I'm allergic to them, and finally I was like, I don't want to go back out there. And I've gotten over it, and that's probably one of the most fascinating things that I do, is taking care of the bees and doing that. When I moved here, I started going to the Master Gardeners with my grandmother, and I met Larry Stone, and went over to his place, and he went through all the bees with me, and I joined his association in Henderson, and I go there every month and talk about bees, and that's the one thing Liz and I are now in love with, is having bees.
How much honey do you guys get now?
We got 7 gallons last year, and off of 2 hives. We have 4, and we have 5 more hives built that we're going to integrate into our hives this spring. So we're going to over double the hives, and we think we can get like 20 or 30 5-gallon buckets of honey from them. We don't really make that much money off bees. Honey's expensive, but so are bees. You know, all the frames and everything. It just adds one more element to the farm. So we're happy doing it.
You get those from the Kelly Company in Clarksville?
We've been there. We've been there. All of our stuff comes local. We're getting bees from this other beekeeper that's in Seabrook. So the Kellys, they buy their bees from California and other places in Maryland. So we try to keep everything local. We feel like it's especially important. What's important with everything we do with the bees, we want local bees. We don't want bees raised,
You're not from your bee.
they don't survive as well, if they're from California. We want, if you catch a swarm that's been living in a tree for 10 years, that's going to be a producing hive for you, not the ones that you buy and that come from out of state. So all of our stuff.
So if we see a swarm, should we call you?
Sure.
Okay. I'm serious. I have a friend that's a beekeeper. She's really into that. She's always wanting to know if there's a swarm somewhere, she'll come get it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, really, when we go and catch a swarm.
How do you catch a swarm?
I asked the same question when I started out. People say you just go up and you just sweep them in, they'll march right into the hive, and I'm looking at them like, what? You still don't do that? And so I was in the dark when people would tell me how to do it, because I would call BS. You can't catch a swarm. But literally, when they swarm, they leave and they find a place that they stay for an hour or 2 before the scouts go out and find a new home. During that point is when you catch the swarm. The queen's in the middle of this big old swarm that's sitting there waiting. And if you have a big old swarm in your backyard, you wait 3 or 4 hours, they'll be gone. So really, when we've got a swarm, we go and take our box and put it underneath it, shake the branch. Once the whole clump falls off into it, put a lid on, we leave it there, and then come pick it back up at night. Once they all go in there, they'll follow the queen wherever the queen is. So if you can catch the queen, you catch the swarm. If there's a big old ball of bees, there's the queen is right in the middle of it.
Well, how do you make sure they don't leave you? Because they're going to leave where they're at in the wild. So will you keep track of them?
There's lots of different ways, but when it comes down to it, bees will be bees.
Yeah.
You can't, a lot of beekeepers try and overthink it and try and have all these different ways, but when it comes down to it, you just manage it and let the bees be bees. You're never going to figure out what the bees are going to do.
That makes sense.
So, there's different ways to combat the swarming. Swarming is natural for bees. It's how they progress, and it's how they split, you know, and create more bees. It's been going on forever. And so you're not going to stop swarming. There's different ways where the hive gets congested. The bees realize their home's too small, so they'll split. They'll form a new queen, and the old queen will leave with half the hive. And when that happens, your honey production goes way down. But then there's ways of splitting those hives before that happens, where you take slides out and you move it to another hive next to it, and you split the hive before they swarm. And so you're taking one hive, making it into two hives. You won't get as much honey that year, but you'll have two hives. There's a lot of different ways, but I don't know if y'all want me to get into bees. 'Cause I could-
How do you do your pricing? Do you kind of forecast how much you plant, what you're gonna get? So
Pricing's hard. That's probably one of the hardest things that we have to do, because starting out, we were underpricing everything. Because when I would come up with a number, I'm like, that's too high. We can't sell it for that much. It's too high. And so when we looked at, you know, what other produce companies were selling for, we were like half the price. Because we felt like it was too high here in Madisonville to compete. We get online and look at prices, is how we do that sometimes. Other times we go to the market and we look and see what the other guys are selling it for. So sell it for a quarter more since we're organic. And we'll do stuff like that, but that's probably the hardest thing that we have. I know I've sold some good cheap stuff to you guys.
They love
we're
it.
challenged. I'm challenged now because it's winter time, California and everything where I get our produce from is getting freezes or droughts. And so this time of year, the prices skyrocket and the quality is terrible.
Yeah.
So I have to balance the best. So I'm paying more for a less quality product.
You need a high tunnel. Yeah, and that's always going to be a problem in the wintertime. And that's why, you know, restaurants used to go seasonal, you know, when everything on the menu was their root vegetables and all that stuff in the spring. They go by seasons because they didn't have the tractor trailer trucks coming out of California. But, so I don't think that's just going to be, it's always going to be there.
We love you for your stuff.
But pricing's hard, and I would say has to do with a lot of businesses. Is getting the right price for your product, because you'll down spiral faster than anything if you overprice something or if you underprice something. So that's one of the challenges with vegetables as well. Especially vegetables, because the prices just fluctuate so much in the marketplace. So.
What are your plans for like 3 years down the road? I mean, how many people do you think you can sustain? What is your end goal, basically? Yes.
We aren't going to expand the garden. The 2-acre garden can produce a lot of food. The food that we're using up the whole garden growing now, I feel like 4 or 5 years from now, we can grow twice as much food on the same property, the same piece. Just doing more intensive cropping, doing longer seasons, doing more rotating crops where we plant 2-3 different crops in the same bed each year. So we're going to expand on how much stuff we grow, but we're not going to expand on the land. With the OFM, I see it staying at 30. I don't see it moving so too far off of that, because I have other stuff that I want to do. I want to start doing events. I want to start doing catering. I would love a restaurant on the farm. I would expand from there. I find that the vegetables and the animals and all that help create my brand. And I don't want to go too far with that, because it takes a lot of labor to do that. It takes a lot of time. So So expanding would be through catering and events and bed and breakfast. And I'd like to expand the bed and breakfast. I'd like to build tree houses in the woods. I'd like to put up some teepees, in the woods, and expand, bed and breakfast in like original ways that way. Do that, but as in the OFM. Members wise, no, it's 30 people is a lot. But it's a lot, and 20 weeks is a long time.
That's true.
And expanding, we can also expand to be a year round and start learning how to grow crops in the winter and start, have a 20-week program, have a 52-week program. But stay small at the same time, just get better and have, more options for our members.
So if people want to get on the waiting list or find out about the bed and breakfast or, the upcoming field events and things, what do they do? Just go to your website?
Our website's coming out in the spring, and we're gonna have all that calendar and PayPal and all that on our website. We do a lot, mainly now is through phone calls and email and Facebook.
I told you, I have one of your vintage business cards from the farmer's market, but I think I took a picture of it and threw the piece of paper away because I thought I would lose it, but business cards are a good thing.
She asked for my business card, so I pulled out a piece of paper and folded it up into a square, wrote my name and number on it.
And I had it in my little file forever, and then I was like, I'm gonna lose this thing, so.
What is your phone number?
My phone number, it's 865 area code 748-4420.
And you have an email
Our
address?
email is twinmaplesorganics@gmail.com.
Have you thought anything about adding herbs in like vanilla beans and things like that? Other day, I finally looked at seasonings. I don't cook. It's a dangerous venture for me to try to cook. But Mark Bowen does. So we went to the store and I was looking at all the new herbs and vegetables and stuff they had. And then I looked at all the seasonings, just looking for a steak seasoning that might be kind of interesting. And vanilla beans were like $4.95 for one bean. I thought that was really, really neat. I thought, well, someone needs to corner the market on vanilla beans here locally.
I don't know if you can grow vanilla beans.
You cannot grow them here. In Tahiti, Madagascar.
That was my brother's.
And I saw
There you go.
them, I sell them because I use them for my soap business, so I buy tons of them.
Yeah, they're expensive.
They are, but I thought that'd be a neat thing to do as far as providing that for your restaurants and packages and stuff like that.
I remember working in a restaurant where you get them in bags, like this big.
Right.
And that had to cost $1,000.
Or like saffron, you keep it in the safe.
Yeah.
You know, the restaurant, the saffron's in the safe.
Yeah, that's expensive because they have to pick them out one at a time.
Do we have any other questions? All right, we did something different this week, and we'll try to do that when we have a video. And what happened is, this gentleman is fascinating, the program's fascinating, and you guys are asking great questions, so we decided what we would do is eliminate the video from the mix. We have a really good video about an Atlas group that actually does home medical care and stuff like that, so we will probably try to bring that into the mix at some point soon. And we're going to go ahead and adjourn early unless anybody has any questions or any comments that they want to share. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I like this format a lot better.
Do you like it?
You're having a hard time finding presenters. So you can double the length by only having one presenter and give them a little more time. And
Well, I think
if there is time, you might show the video, but I'd a lot rather see one person up there a little longer than to see two and cut them off short.
Yeah.
Or see one and cut them off short and watch a video. That's all we do, too much video watching that.
Yeah, well, we had some commentary last time before the end of the year, said, hey guys, what do you want, what do you think? And several people have said, I would like to have a longer question segment on some of these presenters, because some of these presenters are really got some interesting points of view. So we're gonna kind of have those videos in play at the back end of it. There's some really, really great presentations that'll help our businesses here locally as well to kind of see what they've done there. So we look forward to seeing you next week and have some coffee on your way out. And be sure and tell everybody that you appreciate the coffee and the tea because they work hard to get here in the morning for us. So thank you for coming.